President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro reported on the advances of dialogues with opposition groups and the recovery of Venezuelan frozen assets. Relations between Russia and the West will not be restored in the field of European security, as stated by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. And also, Israeli forces killed 3 more Palestinian citizens in Jenin, northern Palestine. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. On Wednesday, the president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, described as successful the agreement signed between the commission representing the Bolivarian government and the opposition groups gathered in the United Platform of Venezuela last Saturday, November 26, through which part of the assets seized from the country were recovered.
Hard on this agreement. It is an agreement that has very important social components for the life of Venezuela, which, in essence, is focused on regaining access to over $3 billion withheld, frozen, confiscated in bank accounts in the United States and in Europe. All that money belongs to the Venezuelan state.
President Maduro emphasized that 84% of Venezuelans repudiate all the coercive sanctions imposed by the United States and Europe against the country.
According to all measurements and surveys, 84% of Venezuelans reject all the United States and Europe's sanctions. They reject them, and they are sickening. There is a national consensus of more than 84% of Venezuelans to reject the sanctions and to reject those who requested the sanctions.
In Colombia, President Petro's government seeks dialogue with all armed groups in the country as part of the Total Peace Policy. The director of the Institute for Development and Peace Studies, in the past for its Spanish acronym, Camilo González Pozo, stated that the attempt to minimize the conflicts between the armed groups, the ELN, the FARC, dissidents, and paramilitaries is one of the biggest challenges for Gustavo Petro's administration. In the past, representative also informed that in the last 3 years, the FARC dissidences have significantly expanded in over the national territory. On the other hand, political analysts assure that the most important challenge for the executive is the dread dimension of the armed conflict in the Indian country.
Well, in this report, we find a rearrangement of armed groups and a rapid growth in the last 3 years, especially the dissidences that have doubled in municipal presence and the Gulf clan that has also expanded by 20%. The ELN grew until the year 2020 and in recent years has been relatively stagnant and overall has a radius of action in 345 of Colombia and urban network connections with small organizations, local, but these are of greater impact.
The structures of the National Liberation Army that has managed to occupy areas that were once occupied by the former FARC demands a new framework for the internal conflict in the perspective of giving greater significance to what is total peace. I think that it is not enough to think in the case of neo-paramilitarism and criminal groups in a simple submission to justice. There is indeed a regulatory framework of the law of justice and peace and other existing regulations that are there to make this possible. What is certain is that this regulatory framework has not provided enough incentives for these groups to disarm.
In Ecuador, authorities announced the slaughter of more than 180 birds due to a bird flu outbreak, which represents an animal health emergency. The Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock reported this is an H5 subtype viral outbreak. They also emphasized that the infection of birds affects 0.5% of the national production. In this context, the minister informed that there will be a state of emergency for 90 days, a period during which no poultry products or byproducts can be transported or relocated to control the contagion. In Mexico, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador confirmed that the Pacific Alliance Summit will take place in Lima, Peru, on December 14th. During his morning press conference on Wednesday, President López Obrador assured that the presidents of Chile, Colombia, Peru, and Mexico will participate in the summit since they are members of the integration mechanism. He also assured that the Ecuadorian president will participate since it is expected that his country will define its incorporation to the alliance during the summit. In this sense, the Mexican head of state informed that he will travel to the Peruvian capital to hand over the presidency to the entity of Pedro Castillo. In the Dominican Republic, social movements rally nationwide to demand changes to the current Social Security law. Demonstrators demand a new social security bill based on the right of the people to quality health and decent pensions. Unions are also asking for a national health insurance that covers all services and the medicines in the midst of the current state of inflation. Likewise, the Coalition for Dignified Social Security demands better conditions for doctors and health professionals, together with the improvement of hospitals and public health centers all over the country. Let's take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated on Thursday that relations between Russia and the West will not be restored in the field of European security. The Russian Foreign Minister made the statements during a press conference at the Foreign Ministry's office on the occasion of the 29th Ministerial Council of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. The head of the Russian diplomacy was not invited as the host country of the meeting. The government of Poland denied Russia the right to attend as a member state of the organization. Referring to the United States, he pointed out that Washington keeps Europe enslaved and has the bloc under its control. Hungary's Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó warned the North Atlantic Treaty Organization about the dangers of becoming an anti-China bloc. During the second day of the meeting of the foreign ministers of the Atlantic Alliance in Bucharest, the capital of Romania, the Hungarian foreign minister pointed out that the idea of a new Cold War was unnecessary. He stated that the bloc is currently going through enough problems and that cooperation with China, based on mutual respect and benefit, is possible. In his view, breaking off economic relations with Beijing would have tragic repercussions for Europe, and he called for recognition of the economic momentum of the eastern countries. Hungary's foreign minister issues these statements after British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak described the Asian giant on Monday as a systemic challenge to his country's values and interests. During a speech at a banquet hosted by the Mayor of London, the Prime Minister described as naive the idea that trade will automatically lead to social and political reform in China. He also admitted that China's importance in world affairs, such as global economic stability or climate change, cannot be ignored. north. However, Sunak asserted that the golden era of relations between the United Kingdom and China is over. Now we move on to other topics. Chinese capital Beijing on Wednesday rolled out differentiated and targeted measures based on each district's situation to contain the current wave of COVID-19 while striving hard to ensure people's normal life and work. The city's municipal government spokesperson Su He-yan stressed that all districts should conduct COVID-19 responses strictly in accordance with basic laws and regulations, as well as in the 9th edition of the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Protocol and the 20 measures for optimizing epidemic control. The spokesperson said the government will provide timely treatment to all infections, in particular the elderly, children, pregnant women, and other groups with weak resistance. In Brazil, the search continues for at least 30 people missing after a landslide swept away at least 15 vehicles on a highway in the municipality of Guaratuba, in the southern state of Paraná. According to local media, the tragedy left 2 dead, and one of them has already been identified as a 60-year-old man. The accident occurred on Monday night at kilometer 669 of Federal Highway BR 376. On the other hand, authorities detailed that heavy rains hindered the rescue efforts, adding that the total number of dead and missing is still uncertain. In the United States, the cleanup processes have begun due to the spill of an anti-flammable chemical foam used after the eruption of the Mauna Loa volcano in the state of Hawaii. U.S. Navy said on Wednesday that there is no evidence that the spill of about 4,160 liters of the chemical contained or contaminated the drinking water. Also, cleanup activities began at the Red Hill facility to mitigate any contamination risk. On the other hand, the Deputy Director of Environmental Health of the State Health Department described the event as outrageous and dangerous for groundwater. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. On Thursday, Israeli forces killed 3 more Palestinian citizens in Jenin, northern Palestine. The new attack in the refugee settlement took the lives of Naim Jamal al-Zubairi, 27 years old, and Muhammad Ayman al-Zari, 26 years old. Another young Palestinian, Muhammad Tawif, also 26 years old, died in hospital from wounds received in Yabad. The onslaught of the occupying troops is steadily escalating. Last Tuesday, they killed 5 young men, and since the beginning of the year, according to the East Monitor, 205 Palestinians have been executed. Hussein al-Sheikh, the secretary of the Executive Committee for the Liberation of Palestine organization, has described some of these killings as heinous crimes. On Wednesday, East Africa's Intergovernmental Authority on Development signed an agreement on the free movement of people as representatives from 8 countries gathered in Khartoum. The East Africa's Intergovernmental Authority on Development meeting in the Sudanese capital was attended by representatives from Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, and Sudan. With the exception of Uganda's minister absence, the rest of the representatives signed a free movement of the people agreement and a transhuman protocol. In a press conference, Dr. Warnak Gebeyu called it a very big achievement for the region. The next meeting will be held next year in Djibouti. A court in Ivory Coast on Wednesday began the long-awaited trial of 18 people accused of abetting a terrorist machine gun assault on a beach resort in 2016 that left 19 people dead. According to Aure Rimalho, the civilian attorney, only 4 defendants were physically present for the proceedings in Abidjan. The others, including the suspected masterminds, are either on the run or being held in Mali. On March 13, 2016, 3 men wielding assault rifles attacked Grand Bassam, a tourist complex 40 kilometers east of Abidjan, popular with foreigners, with Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb claimed responsibility for the same day. The attack came in retaliation of anti-jihadist operations in the Sahel by France and its allies. And more than 1,000 people staged a protest at Kosi Mampuru II prison in South Africa on Wednesday against the pending release of Janus Wallace, the convicted killer of anti-apartheid leader Chris Hani. Wallace's release had been scheduled following a court ruling last week, according to which he should be freed on parole within 10 days. Members of the ruling African National Congress Party and the South African Communist Party, of which Hani was the General Secretary when he was killed 10th of April in 1993, lined the streets of the capital Pretoria to voice their dismay at this release. And now let's go to Qatar. On Wednesday, great emotions were felt in a crucial day to determine the qualifiers for the round of 16 in the Qatar 2022 World Cup. The Tunisian national team had a great farewell this November 30th after beating defending champions France in a glorious 1-0 victory that did not let them leave defeated. The match was dominated mostly by the Tunisians, who with every move deserved more than ever the victory against the Blues, which barely had chances in front of the Eagles of Carthage during the final minutes with actions of Mbappé, Griezmann and Dembélé, among others. Thus, although they did not advance on the round of 16 due to Australia's success over Denmark, the Eagles showed that they were made of with a stunning goal by captain Khazri. And now we continue. Lionel Messi had a penalty saved, but Argentina still advanced to the last 16 of the World Cup as Group C winners after a 2-0 victory over Poland on Wednesday. Poland also went through as runners-up, although a 2-1 win for Mexico over Saudi Arabia in the group's other game meant Michiknevi's side advanced only on goal difference. Alexis McAllister's 46-minute goal settled Argentina's nerves after a tense first half, before Julian Alvarez doubled their lead just over 20 minutes later. Poland offered little attacking threat, with star striker Robert Lewandowski virtually anonymous throughout. And just as the hearts of millions of fans live the emotions of the Qatar 2022 World Cup, TeleSUR joins this sporting event with From the Field, a show that brings news, analysis, reviews, and more to our audience. Don't miss it. Our show airs 1 p.m. local time in Caracas and 12 p.m. New York. Remember, From the Field, only on TeleSUR. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.
This is